Okay. Hello, Twitch. It is showtime. Let's go to Eric webcam 2 plus chat. Sure. Hi. I am here live on Twitch with a beard that maybe needs some combing. Let me start again. Hi. I'm here live on Twitch to announce Let's Godot. Rhymes with Let's Go. My new game development education business. Yeah. And now, since it's a little quiet in the chat, I'm going to chat with myself. And I'm going to ask myself, hey self, what's Godot? Make sure that that appears on the stream. Hey self, what's Godot? Well, hey self, I'm glad you asked. Godot is a game development engine. It lets you build games for mobile and desktop. And I'm trying to think what else to add to that. Because in a sense, I've said it all, but in another sense, there's more detail to be added around, like, how does it let you build games? And sometimes I feel it helps to just get your hands dirty. So I think I'm going to jump right in and show you an example of doing a super simple mechanic in Godot. I'm just going to create a game that displays the Godot icon and on a random basis either starts it moving off to the right or starts it moving off to the left. That's all it'll be. And I'm going to make a point of talking through every step that I take and why I take it, so that if I turn this into a tutorial later, it'll be straightforward to follow. Also, random side note, this is a clothes hanger. I think you can see it. It's a clothes hanger that has my lavalier mic on it, because sometimes I don't feel like wearing button shirts, so I don't have a good place to clip the lavalier mic, so I wear this silly thing, and it works. It works pretty well, I think. Okay, so for this now, I want to go to Eric Desk with Mac. I want to do studio mode to make sure there isn't anything weird on there. Yeah, looking good. I also want to open a windowed or full screen, definitely windowed projector from the source. But keep the chat open on that side. And before I jump over to that, I'm going to do a little project. Let's do save. Let's get a new window. Let's get put that proper keyboard here. Go to project list. Okay. Now I think I'm ready to go. So let's bring it back. Let me bring me back to this window and say, let's fade. Oh, wait, I need to, for Eric Desk with Mac, my Kio X webcam is not in quite the right place. That's better. Okay, fade that in. Hello screen. And actually, what I might do is try to make everything bigger. Can I do a zoom in here? It looks like that doesn't help. I'll just deal with it being kind of small. And I'll look at it on my screen to make it a little better. So I open a new project. I'm going to call it Let's Godot Twitch. We'll call it Let's Godot Twitch Demo. Gonna create a folder at users/Godot. Create folder. And version control metadata, it says Git. I want it to be Git. I like Git, but I'm curious, what are the other options? Oh, there's just otherwise none. Maybe you have to take extra steps to install something else. It's loading up on my other screen. I'll bring it to you shortly. Okay. It's funny, even now I get kind of blank mind when I'm presented with all of this information. But the thing that I want to do is create a root node for my scene. The scene is here. 2D scene will work as a root node. And I'm going to call it my scene. Let's call it icon scene for now. And you can see here, there's a certain area that it covers, or that's a certain area that's, oops. Let me take away this mouse. There's a certain area that's available as the canvas of the game. I'm going to zoom in to show that a little more clearly. Oops. There you go. So it's that area there. Now I want to add a sprite. I won't get into right now what a sprite, what that name means. I'll just show what it does. So I can go over here, I can click plus to add a new node and say sprite, and I'm going to choose sprite 2D. I'm not going to choose animated sprite because I'm not adding animation in this time. I click create here. Now I have a sprite 2D, but it doesn't look like anything. Conveniently, Godot already provided an icon.svg, which I can click on here. The subject is read-only, and it looks like this. So what I want to do is place the icon as the texture for my sprite 2D inside of my icon scene. To do that, I can double-click, or maybe just single-click this thing. I click the sprite 2D to select it. I view over here and notice that it says texture empty. Let's fix that by clicking and dragging on icon.svg and dropping it into texture here. And look, there we have it. And we have a chat from, let's see, my font is a little odd, but I believe it says Nectrion. Hey there, Nectrion. Welcome to the stream. Glad you're here. What brings you to a stream about learning Godot today? Pardon me while I put my phone on vibrate. The next thing I'd like to do, I'm not going to put on an offset here. I'm not going to think about animation. I am going to think about transform because I want to move it to the center of my canvas. And I just based on what I remember about the right numbers for this, if I type 575 for the X and 300 for the Y, it moves it to the right and down. And if I double click on the sprite again, it centers it in my canvas, which is nice. And you can see that it's there. Okay, Nectron says, well, my chat window is not quite viewing the way I would like it to, so it's cutting off some of the words that you wrote. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. So, Nectron says, well, I am a CS student, and I am about to start with C excuse me. Nectron says, well, I am a CS student, and I am about to start with C soon as my first language. Though I have wasted 2 years of my college, LMFAO. But hey, what are you working on? I am working on developing educational content about game development in Godot. And I started by asking myself, hey self, in fact let's jump over to the chat here since I'm talking to you. Oh yeah, this also doesn't appear quite correctly. Let's just move this to the side. And oh, this needs to be wider. Interesting. Okay, let me work on that. Width 400. Let's try that. And it needs to be wider. I don't know how that failed so much. Let's bring it a little bit wider, 475. Pardon me while I get this sorted. Let's just move that totally out of the way. And let's bring my webcam a little further over here. Okay, great. So, Nectran asks, Godot, hearing about it for the first time, so is it like a game engine like Unity or Unreal? Yeah, it's a game engine like Unity. One of the key differences is Godot is free and open source, which I like. And some people have told me, forget about this open source thing and start selling software. But I don't know, I like open source a lot. And I think there's value to be given in teaching people how to use open source tools and promoting open source tools. And that's one of the main ideas behind the business that I'm launching here. Excuse me, I need to cough. Oh my, that was probably too loud, sorry. Yeah, it's a game engine, and if I go back to Eric Desk with Mac, you can see that let's move things around here a little bit so I can still see the chat fully. I have a 2D canvas. I'm working in 2D mode right now. I can place a sprite on the canvas, and it's this little Godot icon. And I can change its position. I can also click and drag if I want to. I think I can click and drag. Yeah, so there it goes. And this reminds me that like it takes big numbers to move it a significant amount, which is useful to remember. 75. So there's my icon. The next thing that I want to do with this is to show how I can create a script that tells Godot what to do with this sprite. So let's do that now. I can right-click on Sprite 2D, scroll down and select Attached Script. Oh. Nectran says, have you ever worked on your own game engine, as in making your own? No, I have not worked on making my own game engine. I would like to contribute to Godot, both as a community service project and as a way of validating that I know what I'm doing. But I'd be more interested in contributing to developing an existing framework than to build my own. Although it might be instructive to build like a mini game framework in Python or Go or something. Nectran also says, I'm also planning to use open source as well. Would you recommend learning C or Java as a first language? I kind of perplex between these two because some people are saying learn C first would just bring you deeper understanding of how things work. Also says I can understand that. I think you're referring to like wanting to contribute to an existing thing versus wanting to build something from scratch. There's a lot of meta and dialogue to be had about C versus Java, but here's the thing. You are already in a CS program that tells you should be learning C, so trust it. Learn what the program that you're paying for is telling you to learn, because it has its reasons for choosing that. And I would recommend, especially when you start, go deep on one language instead of trying to spread yourself thin between different languages. So again, your college says learn C, therefore I say learn C. And either Java or C is a valid programming language to learn the things you need to learn. So I wouldn't worry too much about like having the wrong one. But yeah, that's my take on that. And I'm curious what you think of that. Nectran says the program is currently not using any language, actually. We're on general topics. We have already completed various languages, but I just went through it. Currently not using any languages. How do you do computer science without a programming language? But hey, we have another chatter. Again, it's a little. Let me jump to another window where I can maybe see the text of the name a little easier. Jotro Rocks says somehow first follow. Hey, thanks for the follow. I don't actually have follow notifications set up, so I didn't get a ding for that. I should set that up later. Somehow first follow. Well, I just started on this channel. The channel has existed for a while, but I haven't used it. And yeah. But Java rocks. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the follow. I'm doing well. Netrion, I think he's doing well, although I won't speak for them. And I also am a little confused how they can be doing computer science without using any programming language. But mostly on a mathematical level. So maybe it's like setting groundwork concepts. I guess that could be. Let's go back to WebGem. Necrion says, as in you are allowed to use any language for the program per se. Currently we are learning about computer network, for which we use packet tracer, and digital image processing, for which you use MATLAB. Well, MATLAB comes with a language. Oops, I think I spoke a little too loud. Let me back off the gain on my mic. I don't remember if there's a particular name for the language that MATLAB uses, but MATLAB has its own specialized language. Necrion says, and numerical computing is there as well. But you did, I think you, Joe Crorugs, I don't know how to say your name. How about I just call you Joe? First two letters. It's close, I bet. Oh, Jot. It's Jot Rorox. Jot. Maybe I'll call you Jot. Call me Jojo or Smith or Joe. I'll use Joe because that'll be the easiest one for you to remember. Just those first two letters. Thank you. Where was I? Oh yeah, Necrion. Call me whatever you want. I'll call you Joe. I want to call you Joe. Necrion says you had said something about C. So you say we did C++ in our first semester, Java for OOP, and C++ for DSA in third semester. Oh, so you have touched on a variety of languages already. Something about what you had said before made me think that you were starting in for the first time learning a language, but you actually have some exposure to a couple different languages. So maybe you're at a point where you can even be forming your own opinions about which language would be best for your own development. So what do you like? What have you noticed about Java versus C++ so far? Netrion says yes, but I have never really went into depth with it. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I'll still go back to my initial advice, which is whatever your program thinks you should be learning, focus in on that, and focus on, like, if you want to learn extra outside the program, focus on deepening your knowledge of what they're teaching you, as opposed to picking up new languages. Although, my caveat to that is if you have a specific project in mind and a particular language would be the best choice for that project, then sure, go ahead. Joe says, oh God, I love the JVM, to be honest. JVM is Java Virtual Machine. To be honest, if I am allowed to get my own opinion in here. Hey, it's the chat. You're allowed to put your opinion in chat, absolutely. And Necrion says to Joe, would love to hear your opinion about it as well. Yeah, we're up for hearing that, definitely. Necrion says, C++ is something that allows you to create anything the way you want to, but also let you be on the freeway to the point where you can create bugs. Yeah, if it lets you do anything, then that's just more scope to do things wrong. Necrion, on what topic exact? Well, I can kind of riff on the Java virtual machine and why it's important. Because it lets you write once, run anywhere. Because it turns out, if you want a computer to, let's say, print hello world, the machine level code to do that looks very different on a Mac versus on a PC. But if you're using Java, it's the same program either way. If you're using Java, you write the same program. So how do you write one program that can execute and... Oh, by the way, how to call you, let's Godot. That's a good question. Call me Eric. My name is Eric. I'll also answer to Let's Godot, but yeah, call me Eric. I guess I could go by Lee because it's the first two letters, L-E. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was riffing about the Java virtual machine. So the question is, how can the same line of code work on a Mac, on a PC, on Linux, on a smartphone, all those different places that have different chips, different instruction sets potentially? And the answer is the Java virtual machine. The Java virtual machine is something that gets implemented multiple times on multiple devices. And it creates a predictable computing environment so that it solves all the problems around the low-level differences so that at a higher level, at the level of executing Java code, things work the same way. That's what's great about the Java virtual machine. Okay, we have a chat from Necreon at Joe. I'm currently kind of resetting. Maybe that means resenting. Kind of resetting. No, I think it does say resetting. Resetting as I didn't learn any language properly, so I have two choices to pick on, Java or C. I'm confused if I should start with C to get a deeper understanding of computers plus C, and then move towards Java, or learn Java, make APIs, move towards full stack dev to use Java in the back end, and then I can learn C on the sideline to understand what happens in the background. Okay, so based on that, my thought is, how deep do you want to go? And there is a cost to going deeper in terms of getting closer to the internals of the computer. And how quickly do you want to get to, for example, what did you say about, yeah, make APIs. So how soon do you want to get to those more practical applications? That's gonna, your choice of C versus Java is gonna make some difference to that. Although I will say, both are valid choices, I think, to learn what you need to know. Joe says, and don't forget, the JVM also houses languages like Scala and Clojure. Now that's interesting. Is that because the JVM is built to handle Scala? Or is that because Scala transcompiles to Java? Same question for Clojure. Kotlin, for example, I know transcompiles to Java, I'm pretty sure. Nectrion says, next year I'm going to use UA. Okay, Joe has a correction for me, but first let's say from Necreon, next year I'm going to the UAE around July for some international meetups where various software engineers come around, actually. I do want to have something to be able to show or make connections, haha. If you want something to show, you'll probably get there quicker with Java, I might guess. Yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. I'd be interested if Joe has a take on C versus Java in your specific case. Joe says neither Java and Clojure compile to JVM bytecode. Okay. JVM bytecode. This is coming back to me a little bit. I remember this now. I remember seeing, like, trying to open a JVM, trying to open some JVM bytecode and seeing the funny rendering of it. So let me think. What does the work of compiling Clojure to JVM bytecode? Are there tools built into the JVM to do that, or is it separate tools that compile Clojure to JVM bytecode? Necron asks, is it true that understanding low-level programming helps you in having more credibility and the ability to understand problems from different angles in comparison to just learning Java, JavaScript? Well, Java versus JavaScript is a whole other world of questions. For me personally, JavaScript always... I think the way it's built to handle asynchronous things out of the box really messes with my head. It also feels like it's gone through some different phases of language philosophy, and it has vestigial component or vestigial features. Excuse me. It has vestigial features because of that, and it can be hard to decide which feature to use as a beginner. So going back to Necreon, is it true that understanding low-level programming helps you in having more credibility? That's interesting. Okay, Joe says, also, hello, looks like Gatra. Getrah. Hello, Gatra. I'm doing well. We've got some good chat going on. We're talking about some computer science topics. Joe says at Necreon, if you only have choose languages, use C. Why? Because you are learning how programs work and you have a simple set of pieces in the language. Java has a hell load of things to learn if you really want to learn the language. Also, if you have all languages, I would recommend Go or something, so you can learn the basic programming concepts with a simple language, where you would have the ability to solve a lot of problems yourself, and you really train the problem-solving aspect of coding. Go is an interesting take, yeah, because it has that. It has the simplicity, but it has a little more applicability than C. And I do like Go myself. For example, I had thought about doing a data science education project, and I was thinking, what if I did it with Go instead of Python? Because obviously Python is the go-to. Wait a second. Where am I sitting in this webcam? Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. Obviously Python is the go-to for data science, but there's some things I like about Go better than Python. And I thought, if I'm going to be teaching, why not try teaching in a language I like better? Although I've since realized that I'm more excited about game development. I'm more excited about teaching game development than I am about teaching data science. And I think it's partially because there's more scope to do game development casually. Data science, you have to reach a certain, for me, you have to reach a certain scale and sophistication for it to be interesting. But with game dev, you can whip up a little game on your own computer and just play it, and it can be fun at that level. But yeah, Gatra, hello, how are you? What brings you to a Godot education / general computer science chatter stream today? Also, I'm going to take advantage of, Necreon says, at Joe, that is true for sure. I will have to learn Java at one point or the other since I'm aiming for full stack development, using Java Spring Boot in the back end, while Java, React, HTML, CSS in the front end, while JavaScript, React, HTML, CSS in the front end. So your recommendation would be C to Java for back end, to JavaScript, React, HTML, CSS. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but it sounds like you might recommend swapping in Go in place of Java for backend development, because you can do a lot of backend with Go. Joe says, there's Java as a language which compiles to JVM bytecode, and so do Scala and Clojure, and so do all of them. And so all of them are completely separate programming languages, but have really simple interoperability. Right, because they all target the Java virtual machine. So they all, yeah, that makes sense. Gatra says, I'd say data science is more intimidating. Yes, data science is more intimidating, both to learn and to teach. So on the learning end, I think I have potentially more learners who would approach game dev. And on the teaching end, it's just easier for me to have the confidence to teach game dev than to try to teach data science. Gatra says, data science is more intimidating than game dev for sure. The reason I'm here is because I'm procrastinating on my TDD homework, lol. TDD, I'm guessing that's test-driven development. And okay, welcome to Procrastination Central. I'm procrastinating on developing my first tutorial for my YouTube channel that goes along with this. because because I'm enjoying chatting with people, and I like this so far. Okay. Joe says at Necreon. Yes and no. If you want to learn Java, yes. I would recommend either a full JavaScript stack with something like Next.js or SvelteKit, or Go with Fiber/Gin. You can also use Python with Django. Jumping further down to Joe, but if you want to learn Java, use Spring Boot and Java for the backend. Gatra says, yeah, test-driven development in C#. Yeah, here we go, another language. There are just so many languages. Gatra says, I also like chatting with people. Yeah, chatting with people is just nice. Joe, at Gatra, Microsoft, Java, and then a dancing emoji that I do not know how to comprehend. Joe says, at Gatra, average. We're having fun in chat. It's going over my head, but this is okay. I want to jump you over to my cat who just jumped up onto his tower in the tea studio. So have a look at that. Hi, Sammy. Follow my hand. He's doing it. He's watching. Sammy, over here. Good kitty. Okay, let's bring it back to the chat. Katra says, I'm just doing cloud development and deployment for school at Joe. Joe says, that's not dancing, that is raging emoji, and that was the response for development in C#. Okay, got some spicy opinions coming up. This is fun. Necreon says, at Joe, so either C or Java is a good start, then per se, but if I had more time, C would be a better choice, correct? Joe to that says, at Necreon, yes. Necreon says, I had a Persian cat for 3 days, and then I had to give her away because my mom had allergies. Good old days. Good old days. Oh, man. That's sad. Allergies preventing cats is sad. I would be sad. My cat would be sad. Let's look at him again. My cat would be sad if I had to give him up for allergies. Okay, back to the chat. I find myself a little bit hungry and a little bit like, maybe I should go to the gym. But also I want to make some forward progress on this. Forward progress on this tutorial pretty soon here. Necreon asks, how old is he? He is now about 12. Right? Wait, no. Years are difficult. I got him in 2014 when he was 3. So in 2024 he will be 13. So yeah, he's 12. He is 12. Pietro says, big sad, I'm blessed with no allergies, and I'm very thankful for that, at Necreon. Was Necreon the one who said that? I've lost track of who said what at this point. Sometimes it's hard to keep things straight when it's just text on a screen. Joe says, nah, no spicy opinions. I did my fair share with C#. Something best. Maka de Viva Chip, I don't think I'm interested in what you're looking to give, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that comment. Go ask to promote someone's stream somewhere else. Where's the button that I need? Whatever, I'll just let it lie. I'll scroll. I can scroll back up in this chat. Joe says, everybody should use the language that suits them the best. Yeah, that's a good opinion. Necreon says, and how much does knowing Linux matters in the industry? I'd say it matters a lot, especially if you want to do anything in the cloud. I am pretty good with Linux and can do bash scripting, etc., but never really went to the deepest end to add Joe. Joe says, depends. Gadget said, what's the tutorial going to be about? More basic stuff or something more advanced? I've seen people complain about not having more advanced concepts in Godot on the subreddit. This one's going to be pretty basic. It's going to be, I'm doing kind of an interesting thing with it. I'm calling it an unfinished tutorial in the sense that, what am I trying to say? Oh yeah, I'll show you how to do A and B and then tell you, you go and do C. And in this case, the A and B is to place the Godot icon on the canvas when you run the game and have it randomly either go left or right. Wait, maybe I should do that the other way. Left or right. I don't know. So this one's going to be pretty basic, but that's a good bit of intel to know that it matters that people are looking for less basic and more advanced concepts. I think I can build towards that in the type of content that I choose to make. So whatever bot, go away. Necron says, replying to Gatra, I know I don't have any allergy as well. Big sads for peeps that do have it, for sure. Necron asks to Joe, could you give a general perspective if you don't mind? That's like I think that's referring to the Linux thing. Joe says, I don't actively work in the industry anymore. Sorry, I don't really know. Necron said, it means a lot for the help you provided. Where are we? Gatra said, oh yeah, that's a good approach. Helps people think and apply stuff. Exactly, thinking and applying. Because there was a tweet from WebDev Cody where he said, real learning is staring at a screen for 40 minutes in silence and then realizing what you were missing. And that's a great way to learn, but it's a terrible way to make content. And I think, or I know, that learning requires more than watching a YouTube video. I could make the best YouTube video ever, but if someone's just passively watching it, there's a limit to how much they can gain intellectually. And that's why I want to do this kind of unfinished tutorial and leave people hanging a little bit, so they have to go figure it out themselves. Although I do have a plan to offer like a rescue line in terms of, hey, if you really want to see the solution, go check out my Patreon. Yeah? Good hustle, right? Okay. Necron, Let's Godot, is game dev a hobby for you? Yeah, I'd say it's a hobby. Although I am trying to make a serious business out of teaching it, so kind of. Joe says, also at Necron, I personally recommend this video if you are learning new languages, but remember that you have to find your own way of learning languages. Cool. Thanks, Joe, for that. I'll check out that video later myself. Gatra, imagine having a 40-minute video where you're just staring at a screen, lol. Oh, Joe, thanks for trying Discord. I don't have a command. I'll get you a link, though, manually. Imagine it. You don't have to imagine it. I'll do it right now. Not really. I'm not really going to stare at a screen for 40 minutes. Necron says, my boy Prime, I think I have seen this, but we'll give it a try for sure. Joe says, oh, there is no Discord server now. There is a Discord server. There is no Discord command. Where am I? Joe says, replying to Necron about my boy Prime, yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Prime is, I respect Prime. Anyone here knows Devin Crawford? I don't know Devin Crawford. Necron says, at Let's Godot, you probably know Danny then. Who is Danny? I'm afraid I don't. Let me grab the link for my Discord server. It has 2 members, myself and the Gumroad bot, because I have it integrated with my Gumroad shop. Danny is a game dev YouTuber. I feel like I should know who this is, and I feel like I should watch their videos today, honestly. Get into that right away. Hey, there's my wake-up alarm. Okay, let's create an invite. Can I do this never? I guess it is already set up as a community thing. But let's just do the 7-day one, I guess. Nectreon. Oh, it is Nectreon, not Necreon. I got to get a better font on the display on my stream of the chat. Nectreon says, I would recommend Devin Crawford as well, though he doesn't post, but the videos he has uploaded were quite inspiring for me. Okay, so there's a library of past videos. That's good to know. I'm going to pretend that the Discord command works by typing Discord and then giving you a Discord link. Stretch. Super slick. Yeah, in that slick. I fooled you there. Made you think my Discord command was working. Okay, I've been streaming 45 minutes. I'm gonna take a 5-minute cat and tea timer break to reset my mind a little bit. Might even make some tea. We'll see. I will be right back. Thanks for the chats. It's been good so far. Okay. Tea Studio. Mute the mic. Hello, I'm back with the mic. I'm going to go sit in the tea studio, even though I don't have tea right now. I'm going to sit in the tea studio and drink my tea, drink my water. I have a cup of water. My headphones are still here. Let's move those aside. Gatra says, welcome back with the mic. And says, I'm going to get some more water too, methinks. Water is good. Hello, Sammy. Will you come up in your tower again? Wow. Up in your tower. Or in my lap. You can come in my lap. Come on. Come on up. Oh, you're pointy. Good kitty. Cat makes an appearance. I like it. Oh, don't rub on my mic. That'll make noise. Sammy, come up here. Up here. I bet you can hear him purring at this point. Joe says the cat ASMR. Cat ASMR. Why have I not thought of that before? Uh-oh. Now I'm trapped. What will I do? Gatcher says we can, yeah. Okay, excellent. I'm really glad you can hear him purring. Lavalier mic for the win on this one. There goes the timer. I'm going to what's the word? I'm going to approve another 5 minutes of cat pillow time. Gatcher says, well, you're a cat pillow now, just give up. Yep, you're right, it's over. No more game dev, just cat pillow. Let's move the things a little bit so you can see the cat better. Joe says, by the way, is there any chance you are Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish, or Danish? I'm partly Swedish. Maybe a more mixed Scandinavian in general, but some Swedish, yeah. Growing up, my parents liked to have some Swedish antiques. What do you mean, probably? I mean, I haven't tracked my family history that carefully. Joe says, just because of your last name. That makes sense, yeah. Well, also the spelling of my first and middle name is very Scandinavian. Somehow I think he knows, when I'm in this chair and communicating with someone, because that's when he comes and begs for attention. Not even begs, he demands attention. Joe says, nah, we in Germany spell it Eric as well. Oh, that's a good point. I guess it doesn't necessarily localize it specifically to Scandinavia. I wonder where they tend to spell it with a C then. And like Christopher with a CH and a PH. I know I've seen that in some places, but I don't know where now or why. Catcher says, my younger brother spells it like Eric, E-R-I-C. Okay. E-R-I-C seems to me to be more common. Joe says, you mean, quote, Christopher, and that's spelled with a CH and a PH. It's German. Or at least we use that. So in Germany, for German, you use CH and PH? Interesting. Yep. It's over. I'm a cat pillow. Speaking of names, I recently learned my name means who in Polish. Huh, neat. For whatever reason now I'm thinking of the AC/DC song Who Made Who, and like how would it sound for Gatra made Gatra. It's really snowing out there. Like there's snow on the ground. It's kind of neat. Ooh. Joe says the in the background trombone. Yes, that is a trombone. Well spotted. Gatra says, oh, and by my name, I mean my in real name, Kim. Oh, not Gatra. Okay, Kim. Joe, the background in the, I mean, now I can't read it straight. Joe, the trombone in the background. I haven't slept enough. I mean, the in the background trombone is a valid way of saying it. Oh, there he goes. He knew the timer was almost up. You see that? The timer was almost up. And he left me to be a computer person again. Good kitty. Joe says, I apologize for my English. You're fine. Honestly, I thought you were doing like saying it in a kind of stylized way. And it's, that's interesting. The style can blur the lines of correctness, I guess. Not sure. I don't know where I'm going with that. Freed. Whee! Yep, I am free. The cat is now on the floor, and I am able to return to my computer, where I can continue working on my... Gatra says, honestly, grammar policing is cringy. I feel that. Well, where am I? What am I doing? Let's bring it directly to Eric Desk with Mac so I can get back into the Let's Godot stuff. By the way, note to self, hashtag to do, put the Discord server on the card site. Yeah, let's work with this script. I think I created a script. Did I create the script already, or was I just about to? Oops, what window am I opening now? I want OBS, and then I want the windowed projector. Oh, thank you, Gatra. Hashtag to do put Discord server on card site. That's well done. Now I won't even have to bother transcribing the audio of my Twitch stream because it's right there in chat. I think I can get an archive of chat somehow. I don't actually know. But thank you. That's useful. Okay, where's my mouse? I don't think I created... Oh yeah, because I was going to rename this thing. Gatra says, should be able to do it through the API. That makes sense. I haven't... Joe says, is that a Hackintosh or a Mac device? This is in fact a Mac device. Although it's like the... I'm running in the... it's on an external display. So that's why I have the different aspect ratio of the display. So now that I have the icon sprite, I can go ahead and attach script, and it prompts me to use language GD script. I am going to use that language. I like that language. Inherit sprite 2D. Template, no default, that's fine. And path, I don't remember what RES stands for, but it's like the root directory of this project. I will create it. And now we are presented with a few things. It extends sprite 2D, so that gives us a bunch of preset behaviors. So like when we type position, it knows what to do with that. Stuff like that. And, oh my. Joe says, but I'm gonna leave now and do your work. Okay, that's good and responsible of you. I approve. Gatra says, good luck, have fun at Joe. Joe, so see you and have fun. Thanks. I think I should have a good one. Let me by the way. I want to put in 20 minutes of trying to focus on this thing. So one thing I need is a velocity variable. And in GDScript, you have to declare your variables. I'm going to declare it in the global scope of this script. I don't know if global is the right word to use for GDScript in terms of scripts. But anyway, I'm going to declare it out here. I'm going to call it velocity. And I declared it out here because I need to access it in both of these functions. So on ready, I'm going to let me think about how the way I want to do this. Well, let's make it really simple first. I'm going to say velocity equals vector2 tab to give the correct capitalization dot 0. So I have a 0 vector, and then I'm going to say velocity dot x plus equals 100. So I've set velocity. Why is it complaining? Okay, it was just being slow. I've set velocity to be the 0 vector, and I've added 100 velocity in the x direction. Now, that's for the ready. So it does that at the beginning when this, in this case, when the game begins. Then I can delete this pass filler. And I can go to process, and I can say position plus equals velocity times delta. Now there's, not delta again, new line, okay. Let's talk about delta. Delta refers to the amount of time per frame, and Godot handles that all kind of behind the scenes. Velocity is this vector that I've defined and given an x component of plus 100. So when I run this, the sprite should appear in the middle of the screen and then travel to the right. Let's test to see if I haven't forgotten anything by clicking the Run button. It says, no main scene has ever been defined. Select one. Yes, I will select the current scene. That's fine. I have to save the current scene. I'll save it as iconscene.tscn. Save. And oh look, it's traveling to the right. Success. It's gonna travel off the screen. I haven't done anything to clamp it down, so it's not a very interesting game yet. But we're off to a start. Actually, I guess that was a debug as opposed to a normal run. Is that a difference? Anyway, now let's make it interesting. Let's make it so the game has a choice. Is choice the right word when we're talking about a pseudo-random number generator? Let's not get philosophical. Now I'm going to design randomness, so there's a possibility that the icon could go to the right, and there's a possibility that the icon could go to the left. And the way I'm going to do that is use the randi function, rand integer, you could also call it randy. If randy function and take modulo 2 is equal to 0, I'll come back and describe how that works, but that's my code here. Then I need to move around some lines. I will select the velocity.x plus equal 100 and place it here. I will take the line that sets it as 0, place it before the if, and I will add an else condition saying, in that case, velocity.x minus equals 100. Now, a purist might get on me and say, hey, you should be more dry. Dry as in don't repeat yourself, because I typed 100 twice. And yes, I could be more dry in a different way, but I think this is a good way to present what I'm doing for the purposes of this exercise. So now, when I do Command B to run the program, or run the game, what does it call it? Play the project, run project. Okay, well, does it say run project? Wait a second. Run project, Command B, play the project. So it could be called run, it could be called play. Let's say run the project, Command B. Will it travel left or right? Why didn't it run? Let's just click the button. Okay, it traveled right. Let's run it again. I do hope I'm not muted. It traveled right. I think F5 is run scene. Could try that. Function F5. I don't think that's it on Mac. Command R seems to do it though. And look, it went left. So now I want to take guesses in chat. Let me make sure my mic is on. Yeah, okay, that's good. I want to take guesses in chat for will it travel left or will it travel right? Let's jump over to the chat window. Gareth, there is a random chance that it will travel in either direction. I mean, yes, that's true. That's not what I was looking for. I'll see if anyone else is willing to make a guess, and if not, then we'll just see what it does. Okay, let's just see what it does. Hey, it went left. Gambling, yep. I mean, there's no prizes, so it's not really gambling. I guess I would have given you recognition if someone had guessed it right, and I might have shamed you if you'd guessed it wrong. No, I wouldn't have shamed you, but I would have declined to give you recognition if you got it wrong. Okay. That's that. The next thing I want to do, let me see that I have this. Okay. The next thing I want to do is state the okay. This is the part where this is an unfinished tutorial because you are going to finish the tutorial. I want you to add a feature so that instead of the icon going always right or left, the icon can instead go diagonally up, diagonal up and right, diagonal down and right, diagonal up and left, diagonal down and left. So 4 possibilities. And to give you a few hints, you can still use this velocity vector, but you should also add some lines that manipulate velocity.y, because x gives you the right to left motion, and y gives you the top to bottom motion. So that is your assignment. In fact, that is your mission, should you choose to accept it. And I hope it goes well. I will not release the solution on my YouTube channel, but if you get stuck, you can reach out and ask for help. And also, I will eventually release a solution in my Patreon, which is free for now. Okay, that's enough talking to YouTube. Let's talk to Twitch again. Gatra says, but my rewards. Yeah, your rewards. I mean, let me say this. Since you correctly identified that there's a random chance it will travel either direction, there is now a random chance that you will receive a reward from me. Okay, let's go back to chat. And let's see something else, just see how this is doing. Okay. Shout out Nectrion, thanks for the follow. And Gatra, thanks for hanging out. I may wrap up this stream about now. That's what I'm feeling. I've got the tutorial recorded. I think it's probably good enough that I can publish. Obviously, I'm not going to just drop this whole video as a tutorial, but I can edit down the parts where I was talking about the tutorial and use just those for the tutorial video. Yeah. So for chatters, if anyone wants to add something to the chat, or just say bye for now, that's cool too. Speak now, or well, wait a second. Chat now, or forever hold your peace. Chat now. Low-key human. I like the username. Hey, What's up? Okay, cool. Gotcha. I mean, if is I gotta get a better font on my thing. Let's go over here. Loki human. Oh, or Gatra says, I mean, if it okay if I just talk about other hints? And a smile. Other hints? Like if you give people hints about how to do how to finish the tutorial I was showing? Is that what you're trying to say? Loki human says, all good. Just looking at some just looking at some software game dev content. Thumbs up. You are in fact looking at software game dev content. That is what this is. Gatra says, yeah, that's what I meant, mostly because it's a question. Mostly because it's a question. Because what's a question? Like the question of how to finish the tutorial? Gatra says, I mean, I know the answer, but I'd like to hear you reply to it. You know the answer of what? How to add the diagonal directions? Gatra says, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna reveal that today. I'm gonna hold that closer to the vest. You're welcome to say how you would solve it, but I'm gonna have some suspense and some mystery in my content. Gatra says, yeah, I mean, if I put it in chat, you couldn't have that part, haha. Like if you, and that's why I'm not just straight asking. I guess what you're trying to say is, if you put the solution in chat, that would kind of spoil it for people. But honestly, if someone takes the time to watch this whole replay, they can have the spoiler. I don't mind. I just don't want it to come from me what the answer is yet. Gatra says, don't you need to shove the Randy into a variable or use a case instead of an if statement? At least that's how I'd solve it. This is interesting. That's not how I would do it. I would actually add another Randy. So one random integer to determine the x component of the vector, and one random integer to determine the y component. However, you could do something like, oh, I see why you would need it in a variable. Yeah, because if you had 4 cases for the four directions, then you would have to you just do a randy mod 4. Yeah, that's valid too, because there are 4 possibilities. But I like breaking it down into randy mod 2 for x and randy mod 2 for y. I think it's more efficient line by line to do it with the 2 separate random integers, although computationally maybe it's more efficient to only make the random generator do it once. That's an interesting question. Okay. Catcher says, I mean, at this point, the efficiency isn't going to matter. Lol. You are correct. The efficiency does not matter at this point. But isn't it fun to prematurely optimize things? I don't know. It's not going to matter for a very long time. Yeah, given the state of computer hardware and given the simplicity of what types of things I'll be working on in my tutorials, it's going to be a while before it matters. Yes. It's going to be a very long time before it matters. But now it would please me to end this stream for today. I am going to quit while I'm ahead. I'm happy with how it went, but I am getting a little bit tired. Before we go, Gatra says, by the way, what would you use for the player character in a breakout game? What's a breakout game? I don't know what that is. So I'm gonna leave that unanswered. Old Atari game like Pong, but you remove bricks instead. What would you use for the player character? Why would you need a player character? Isn't it just a... Yeah, okay, breakout. Yeah, with the bricks. I mean, is there a player character? It's just like a bar that you move around, right? I don't know that you need more than that. Catcher says, I mean, you're a platform. Should I like put some decoration on the platform? That's a player character, no? Character in a broad sense, yes. But, in any case, oh, by the way, low-key human, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Obviously not a whole animated character, but still it's something the player interacts with. Yeah. Is there another word for something that's not as much of a character, but still is player controllable? I don't know. Let's move to another camera, move to the T Studio to wind down the stream. Beatrice says no clue at all. Yeah, I don't know either. I am going to take away the teacup, put on this timer, and that'll be a wind down of the stream. I'll be watching chat for the next 5 minutes, so I might respond, but I won't be saying much. Ow, I just rolled my chair into my foot. That's great. I just looked at the preview of the video. It's like, that's not my office. That looks like a studio. I've had that thought before. It's kind of fun. Catcher says, I ended up using a static body 2D in the end because the character body 2D was being pushed around by my ball. Oh, I think I understand your question in a way that I did not understand it at first. What would you use for the player character? Okay, like what type of node would I use in Godot? Yeah, static body 2D makes sense because it's not going to go anywhere, and you don't want it to go anywhere unless you, as a programmer, write the script to make it go somewhere. Yeah, that seems like a good choice. Thank you for the question. I'm going to do some research and find out what are the possible choices and like what are the possible correct choices. And also, for fun, what are some of the wrong answers? And I think character body 2D is a wrong answer because of the problem that you've mentioned here, that it's being pushed around by the ball. This is an interesting angle for content, to be like, take a classic game, take a key component of it, and ask what would you use for this, and talk about like some right answers, some wrong answers, and why it matters. That would be kind of fun. Gadget says, oh, and I'm pretty sure Randy is deprecated in 4.0. Oh, okay, so what's the preferred one? I may have to re-record this. Rand F. Oh, for Rand float? I will say Rand F. It's harder to say than Randy, but it's also kind of more fun. So I'll do some reading on Rand I and Rand F and what the differences are and why it would be deprecated in 4.0. Because yeah, I don't want to go around showing people to use a deprecated thing. Oh, hey, there's my timer for 20 minutes of doing the tutorial. So that's kind of convenient that I'm wrapping up now anyway. Thanks, watchers, for watching. Catcher says, okay, I checked. Rand-I exists in 4.02, my bad. Oh, okay, so it is there. That being said, it's an interesting question to ask. What are the available random things? And like, what are the available random number functions? And why would you use one or the other in a given situation? I assume rand-I is good when you want discrete probabilities. So like you can do mod 2 and get 50-50 probability. And float would be if you want... Why would you want to use a float for probabilities or for random numbers? I'm not really sure. I guess if you're placing something in a random position on a like 0 to 100 axis, then you might want to float so it can be smooth where it lands. I mean, approximately smooth in a computer sense. And our timer is very nearly done. So this stream is now very nearly done.